So is the Gateway Tunnel project fully funded, and will it move forward? Lately, it feels like it depends on the day and who you ask. The courts have required the federal government to release $205 million in funding, money that should get the project restarted sometime next week. But there are still many larger questions at play, like will the Trump administration attempt to block the rest of the federal funding for the total $16 billion that the project costs? Here to talk it all through is Tom Prendergast, CEO of the Gateway Development Commission, which is responsible for the project. Tom, so great to have you with us. I want to start with the $205 million that the federal government did release this week. That was sought in immediate relief. Is that enough to start the work? Restart the work?
It's definitely enough to stop the pause that we currently have and restart the work. It's for the money that we've already submitted for work that's being done, but it provides the money for some of the money for the work going forward.
We heard Governor Sherrill and Governor Hochul, for her part, say many times that any work stoppage was going to increase the total costs for the project. And so, given the fact that we saw workers out of a job for more than a week, are there now additional costs to get those workers back onto the site?
Well, one of the things you do when you have a program this large is you have a contingency fund for unplanned events, so that you have not only contingency in terms of the budget, but the schedule as well. So what we need to do now is, whenever we didn't plan for a stoppage of 2 weeks like we've experienced, so we need to assess exactly what impact to the schedule and budget of the program this 2-week stoppage will have, with the intent of trying to get it back on schedule and within budget.
I understand one of the challenges when there is a work stoppage like that is that workers go and they take other jobs. Do you know right now if you're able to get these workers back onto the job site? And if so, do you have a date?
Well, one of the things we have done is we've kept the contractors fully informed as to what's going on. And we not only share information with us, but they share information. We share information with them, they share information with us. And the shorter the pause, the more likely they'll be able to bring back the same workers that were working on the site when we paused the work. Because the level of effort, the knowledge about the uniqueness of the job are all embodied in those workers who work there every day. So we're confident we're going to get the critical mass of those workers back that were working on it when we paused it.
Yeah, you raise an important point about the uniqueness of the job and having those workers on site who really understand it and that institutional knowledge. I want to better understand, there are 2 lawsuits right now. One was filed by your organization, the Gateway Development Commission, another filed jointly by the states of New Jersey and New York. It was the state's lawsuit that saw the immediate relief, the $205 million. How, if at all, does that impact your lawsuit now that those funds have been received?
Well, first of all, we're exhausting all means short of the lawsuits to make sure we're communicating with our federal partners who are providing the lion's share of the money and answering any questions they have. There are 2 lawsuits, one filed by the states of New York and New Jersey, and that's the one that actually prompted the action to get the federal government to make the payment that they made to us. Our lawsuit is a summary judgment lawsuit that's tied to basically the facts as related to the full fund granting agreement. Both legal actions are proceeding forward, but the most immediate action that resulted in the workers coming back to work was the result of the state's lawsuit.
So to be clear, the state getting this immediate relief does not in any way impact your lawsuit. You will not be retracting your lawsuit.
We're not going to retract our lawsuit. We're going to keep pursuing it. There may be some impacts. I'm not a lawyer, and there may be some details where there could be some impacts one to another, but both are pursuing for the reason so that we can get clarity with respect to what the federal government is required to do and what our expectations are of what those requirements are.
I have to ask you, and it's a question that we've raised before, but since I'm talking directly to you and you are the head of this commission, I want to ask, do you believe, in hindsight, maybe you waited too long to take legal action at a point where there was just a few days before all funds had been exhausted and you were at the end of the financial rope, so to speak?
I mean, it's a question that a number of people have asked. And they've asked it even in other forms where I've had to pursue, working at a public agency, a lawsuit. I think we always try to find a means short of a lawsuit to reach an agreement to have a dispute resolved and work continue. And that's a given. So people can ask the question like, could you and should you have filed earlier? That's a valid question. And I think we wanted to make sure that we exhausted all means with respect to the concerns that our federal partner had with respect to this work going forward. And that started with the DBE evaluation and then, moved on into the issue of pausing of the funds. So it's a matter of principle, and it's a fair question, but we wanted to make sure that GDC, the Gateway Development Commission, wanted to make sure it was exhausting all means before it had to use legal remedies to get a solution. And we thank the states. We thank the states for the action they took.
Yeah, the states filed suit very shortly after your organization did. The president said on Monday, and I want to quote him, that the project requires proper planning to avoid insurmountable cost overruns. What's your reaction to that comment from the president?
It's a fair statement, but it's a fair statement in anyone who has to deliver a major infrastructure project that is in the billions of dollars. It's all about scope, schedule, and budget. My predecessor, Chris Calori, myself, we have committed and signed into a full funding grant agreement with the federal government, stating that we're going to deliver this project in this time frame at this cost. And so the statement the president made is fully in line with that. We are held to task to deliver this project as agreed to in a contract document by scope, schedule, and budget.
Do you have concerns based on that statement that was part of a larger post that he put out on social media where he did call the project a boondoggle? Do you have concerns that the funding will be a big question mark as the project goes forward? Of course, too, his administration is still going through the appeals process.
Well, take that apart in pieces. I don't agree that it's a boondoggle. I've spent my entire career, over 50 years, in public transportation, whether it's in the private or public sector, and infrastructure, whether it's new infrastructure to provide an asset or the maintenance of an existing piece of infrastructure to extend its life. And it's not a boondoggle. There's widespread support. This is the largest infrastructure project in the country for the need for these tunnels in the Gateway Tunnel project. So that's the answer to the first part of the question. The second part is people that are delivering projects like the Gateway Development Commission should be held to task to be able to deliver this project as efficiently and as quickly as possible. Does that create challenges? Absolutely. It's an 8 to 10 year project. There will be issues that we need to manage effectively. Anybody who tells you that you can manage a project with no problems isn't telling you the truth. There will be problems on any project of this magnitude. It's the timely identification of the problem and the implementation of an action to mitigate the effects of that problem.
All right. Well, appreciate your insight. Appreciate you coming on and talking with us. Tom Prendergast, CEO of the Gateway Development Commission. Thanks again.
Thank you very much.